These protein banana nut muffins have 21 grams of protein and taste just as good as anything you can find in a bakery. Look at that. Let me show you how easy they are to make. So not only do they taste great, but they're super easy to make because everything's done in the blender. So cleanup is a breeze. We'll start with the main ingredient, which is the bananas. So you're going to want a ripe banana. The riper the banana, the sweeter the muffin is going to be, and the more banana-y flavor it's going to have. So I typically like to have them where they're about this brown. Any more brown than that, they get a little bit too mushy. They're kind of hard to deal with, and any less than that, then there's not enough banana flavor for me. But you can still make them. Just get some banana extract and put in about a half a teaspoon of the banana extract if your bananas aren't very ripe. Another tip that I'll add on this is that once they get to this stage, they freeze very nicely. So you don't have to toss them if you're not ready to make your banana muffins. Just stick them in a Ziploc bag and throw them in the freezer, and then that way you can use them whenever you want and you don't have to wait for ripe bananas. All right, so we're going to put 3 of those in here. All right, so after you get your bananas in, you're going to add 3 eggs and a powerhouse for protein, cottage cheese. So they do fantastic in muffins by giving them the fat and the moisture that they need, and of course the extra protein. In the blender, it's going to blend up all the curds nice and smooth, so you don't have to worry about having chunky muffins. Now, my recipe that I'm making today is full fat. But I have made these before with the low-fat cottage cheese, and they are just as good. So we're going to put a half a cup of cottage cheese in here. All right. Now, the next ingredient that I use is agave. I like to use it because it has a low glycemic impact. I have also made this with maple syrup and with honey, and both are excellent. And then when I want to reduce the amount of sugar or calories, I've also made it with stevia, and still just as good. You just use less. I'm going to drop the recipe in the comments, and I have this in the notes as well. So we're going to use a 1/4 cup of the agave. All right. Now, the next ingredient that's going in is melted butter, and I have 2 tablespoons of that in here. If you want to reduce the fat, you can substitute out no sugar added applesauce, and that works as well too. So we're just going to pour that right in here. And then the last wet ingredient that we're going to put in is 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. So now we're just going to mix this up really quick just to get the lumps out of the cottage cheese and to smooth out those bananas. Okay, so now we're going to do the dry ingredients. What I have in this one is almond flour. That makes it gluten-free. It's lower inflammatory, lower carb. I can't do flour because I have reactive hypoglycemia, so I make everything with almond flour. So we are going to do a 1.5 cups of almond flour. Next ingredient is our protein powder. Now, I love PE Science. Their protein powder is the best for baking. So I make a lot of protein muffins. I make about 2 dozen of them a week. And I've tried many different protein powders. And typically most of them are whey, and whey leads to a drier muffin. And so then I tried out casein, and the casein made it just too soggy. So of course, if you have the mix of both, you get the perfect texture. Now, I have tried several that are a blend. PE Science by far is the best, and their flavors are fantastic. I'm not affiliated with them at all. I just really love their protein powder. So for this recipe, I'm using Snickerdoodle because I like the warmth that it adds to the muffins. But I have also made this with vanilla protein powder, and it works very well also. So we're going to go with a 1/2 cup of the protein powder. All right. So now we're going to do 1.5 teaspoons of cinnamon. Now, this recipe is pretty forgiving. If you like more cinnamon, you can definitely add more, but I'm using a snickerdoodle flavored protein powder, so I did not use as much cinnamon, but I probably, if I was using vanilla, would do 2 teaspoons of the cinnamon. All right, so I'm gonna do 1 teaspoon of baking powder. And 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. Oh, and I forgot the salt. We're gonna do a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Okay, now we're gonna give this a good mix. So now that this is good and mixed up, we need to put our pecans in there. So there's a couple of ways that you could do this. Most people, I'm going to say, probably will just stir them in because you want the crunch of the nuts. But you know what else I've done? I have actually put these in here and gave it a quick spin and kind of cut them up a little into the batter so that the pieces were much smaller and spread out through, and it also made a very nice muffin. But today I think what I'm going to do is just go ahead and stir these in because I want a little bit of a crunch. All right, so that's just a 1/2 cup. All right, easy as that. The cool thing about these two is now I'm just gonna use the blender and pour them straight into the cups. I don't even have to mess up an ice cream scoop for this one. Now, I like big muffins and I cannot lie, so I will fill these up pretty far. So I'll get about 9 muffins out of this. So after I pour the batter into the muffin tins, I'm gonna let this sit for about 10 minutes before I bake it to allow the almond flour to absorb in all of the moisture. That way you don't have a muffin that is either too dense or can also be kind of soggy in the middle if you don't give it a chance to absorb all the liquids. So I have preheated the oven to 350 degrees. However, when I put these in, I'm gonna turn it down to 325. And I'm gonna bake these for anywhere between 18 to 22 minutes. About the 18-minute mark, I'll just kind of poke them and see if they're done in the middle. But I'll see you back in about 20 minutes. Fresh out the oven, protein banana nut muffins, and they smell amazing. So what I'm gonna do now is stick them on the cooling rack and let them cool for about 20 or 30 minutes. And then I'm gonna wrap them up and put them in the fridge. So they'll store in the refrigerator for about 5 days, perfect for your work week. If you wanna keep them any longer, I suggest freezing them. I like to wrap them in the freezer paper and tape them up, stick them in the refrigerator the night before I'm gonna use them, and they'll be perfectly thawed by the next day. Additionally, I like to pop mine in the microwave for 10 to 15 seconds and heat them up because who doesn't like a warm banana nut muffin? I hope you enjoyed today's recipe. If so, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel. Thank you for watching this video.